and health and yet another windowless congressman. So, your first question, because I want you to be able to move your bodies because that's important, is which way is south? Please point.
You can get my phone out. I'll tell you.
I was going to say you're going to do better than most architects I mean, so. First, let me say welcome to New Orleans. Obviously, I wasted the first 49 years of my life and then I moved to New Orleans about 9 years ago. And it is a unique testimony to the power of an interesting culture. You get prejudiced after you've lived here for a while. Every place else in America just feels like an Applebee's. So that's my attitude. Now, as Hugh mentioned, New Orleans, we have a front row seat for climate change. And we are now all experts on resilience here. Anyone you meet, you can talk to. There's that scene in that Molière play where the guy is really impressed when somebody tells him that he's been speaking prose all his life. And it turns out now we speak resilience all our lives here. Now, what I did want to talk about, though, is that I think when especially architects and builders first started talking about resilience, they actually were using it as a synonym for hardening. They meant make things tough. But my wife is an ecologist, and she says, no, ecology, in ecology, that's where how it enters the English language is through its use by ecologists in the 20s. It's a property of systems. It's not a property of objects. Systems come back. Living systems bounce back from an assault, from an insult. And in fact, when you look at resilient communities, it's not because they were built like bunkers. It's because their communities are strong. So ultimately, in New Orleans, resilience is not a problem about water. It's a problem about people. It's a problem about community. And that's what we've learned to better appreciate and understand. Now, that said, energy efficiency and healthy design, or design that might make health possible, is important. And the transformation that happened in New Orleans is notable. We like to say that a good Louisianan may come late to the party, but they generally catch up. And so the day that Katrina struck, there was exactly one LEED certified building in the state of Louisiana. Today there are 1,000. And that transformation has happened because when Bruce came in, they said, we should use this as an opportunity to build back better. Now, that does not guarantee that all these buildings are either energy efficient or healthy, but at least they've started to create a discipline and a language among people that we can talk about how these things can all interact. And the city has, the population of New Orleans was 440,000 the day before Katrina. We're now at about 390,000, so we're sort of mostly back. But other transformations are pretty amazing. We're in the top 10 list of cities for startups. A lot of other interesting things. Our school system has been transformed in ways for good and ill, but it is entirely different now, I'd say. We have 100 miles of bike paths, which is just wacky, but we are now the 5th highest percentage of the population that uses bikes for regular commuting in the country. And when you've seen our roads, the amazement gets even better. Now, my firm, Eskew+Dumez+Ripple, we are local here. We're incredibly committed to this city. When I first got here in 2009, 100% of our work was rebuilding the city. Today, about half of our work is around the country. And we are taking a message about the interaction between energy efficiency, health, and community. And that's part of the resonance that we're finding as we work increasingly around the country and around the world. Our practice is research driven. We're a 50-person firm that actually funds a full-time researcher inside our firm. And so each year we pick a different topic and we say we wish we could learn more about these topics. We need someone who can act as a translator. This year we have actually 2 people working on understanding the science of sound, its impact on human perception, and how buildings can affect that. But about 3 years ago, the focus was on health in the built environment, and we became a little more familiar with the, let me say, rich literature around some of those topics. Our firm is also super committed to this. We've learned and plugged into processes across the American Institute of Architects. I just want to share with you some of those, because it's always amazing how little different people who are working on much the same topic talk to each other. The AIA has a process they call the 2030 commitment, which is where architecture firms track not just the one cherry-picked cool environmental building they're doing, but but every single project in their design portfolio. And this is now the largest, all of the largest firms in the AIA are now part of this, and we're watching how our whole portfolios are tuning up. So I call this, the best diet to lose weight on is the pencil diet, where you write down everything. You can eat whatever you want, you can write down what it was, and then you have to face facts with that, and so you stop kind of telling yourself, I'm okay because there was a salad on the menu, salt and cheeseburger. The other thing that's happened over the last couple of years is the way that architects are rewarded through the awards systems has changed, that now you have to submit the energy use intensity of every building, even if you're just doing an interiors project and you want to talk about how cool the surfaces are, the EUI part has to get filled out. And the day that that requirement came out, the director of design of my firm came over, put his arm around me and said, you're my new best friend, because I can't win a design award unless this stuff looks good. So that's changed the conversation within practice. The thing that's now coming is the AIA commitment on materials, which, it's very odd, the amount of things that we stick in our buildings that we have no idea what their health impacts might be, much less their environmental consequences. And so they're developing a framework for tracking that and moving towards carbon neutral and also less health-threatening materials. Now, this is a long-term thing, and one of the questions is going to be, that I learned, actually the first time I chatted with Felicia, was the difference between long-term impacts that we have for exposure to materials and exposure to air and so on, and short-term ones. And so for us as an architectural practice, the thing that really shifted the conversation about indoor air quality and indoor environments was a series of peer-reviewed studies done through Harvard in Syracuse, where they actually tuned and manipulated the air quality they had 8 soul-destroying windowless cubicles, and they had people, knowledge workers, working for a week. And every day they shifted this carbon dioxide content, the VOC content, and so on. And they had them doing this 8-hour-long experiment where you pretend you're a city manager and you have to answer emails and respond to a crisis and look up information and so on. And what they found was incredibly stunning, which was that ventilation rates that we typically find in VOC levels and PM 2.5 particulate matter levels that we find in typical offices today, they could substantially improve knowledge worker productivity within a day by improving the air quality. That is, brain function was affected by air quality. So this is not a long-term health question about will you get cancer. This is, will you make a right decision? Will you find that information on Google quickly, right? That thing has that's been transformative in our practice and our ability to convince clients to consider healthier environments. It also just turns out that mechanical systems that provide healthier levels of air and lower contaminant exposure and so on, and better control of carbon dioxide, happen to also be more energy efficient. So that's the side benefit. The other thing that's changing is this revolution, thanks to the developments in China, really, it is so terrible. There's a tremendous market for air quality monitoring systems, and once you have a billion people buying them, the cost drives costs down. So there are now very affordable air quality monitors, many of them correct, that work on monitoring these things. These things will get better, and that will change things. But it's been the need for these has been driven by the California fires now, where we understand how many people you could be 100 miles or 300 miles from a fire, and the mechanical systems need to be able to deal with some of these issues. So, that drives the urgency. Last year, the federal government spent $140 billion on climate change direct impact responses, and that will only rise, as you know, the projection now is that will rise. That's 1/4 of all federal discretionary spending, non-defense spending. So imagine the projection now is that will rise to 10% of the entire gross domestic product by the end of the century. That is to say, half of all government spending. And yet there's some helpful things. Net zero is not only possible, it's kind of scarily cheap and easy. We're working on a 50-unit apartment building for a resilience recovery organization where we are upgrading to net zero with off-site islandable battery storage for less than 10% of the cost of construction. So these changes are happening as we move. But that's not fast enough. We need to start moving and look at what happens to the existing building stock. And Ed Mazria's proposal, the idea of requiring deep energy retrofits at time of property transfer change, is something we have to start talking about if we're going to have an impact quick enough to make it different. Obviously, we have issues here about controlling humidity in the hot, humid south and the impacts that that can have on air quality, as Felicia alluded. Avoiding these chemicals of concern that have potentially long-term impacts. But the other helpful thing I want to say and close on is there's a great study that I've enjoyed, and I already see the problems with it, and I still love telling you this is a wonderful study. They went to the University of Oregon's Student Services Building with a lot of regular employees, and they took pictures of what you could see out of all the windows. And then they showed them, they stopped people on the campus and said, which of these views do you like better? And they did pairwise comparisons and ended up with a ranking. And then, anonymously, they looked up people's health records and how many sick days they had taken over the last 4 years. And they found a beautiful correlation with the quality of the view and the negative correlation, the quality of the view and the number of sick days they've taken, right? So, as an architect, I love this because this implies that beauty matters. And that we need to provide people a richer, more stimulating, more connected environment. The buzzword, of course, is biophilia. But it says that we can make choices today that can have tremendous positive impact on people's health and productivity, and that will sell. The final thing, the harder one, is walkability, which is that over half of 6 of the top 10 causes of death worldwide are connected to things that are lifestyle choices and are preventable. They're not communicable diseases getting you. And so the question is, the huge amount of construction that is coming in Africa and in Asia, how can we make it so that that growth is accommodated, that urbanization, in a way that promotes health, that promotes walkability, that promotes community? And that's the challenge that I think we're all excited about. Thank you very much.